Hello, it's been a while, but I'm back with a really fun vlog. Back in fall, my husband had a business trip like in late fall, and with this job he only has to work a couple hours a day, so we had a ton of free time, and he asked me to come along so that we could just turn it into a trip because it was over by the eastern coast. This is maybe tied with my Jeju trips. It's one of the best trips I've taken in Korea. I cannot recommend this area enough. Even though I've been to Sokcho and Gangneung, I would much rather visit Uljin over those two, which is crazy. I don't know how it's not more popular, but I'm gonna show all the places we went, my recommendations, all of that. So if you're interested, stay tuned. The first place we went right when we arrived was Seongryugul. I think I'm saying that right. Anyway, Seongryugul Cave. And honestly, there wasn't a lot of information when I was looking this up online, so I just kind of went in blind. I saw a couple pictures that were like very badly taken and I just saw the outside, like this part is really famous, people love to take pictures there, but it looked really pretty. It was in the area we needed to go, so we just decided to head in there. But it was honestly one of the coolest things I've ever done, but also mildly terrifying, I'm not gonna lie. So I think it was pretty cheap to get in. I don't remember exactly how much it was. So you get up to the entrance and you get a helmet, and then I was like, oh my god, this is serious. And then you have to like scoot in. I don't even know if it was crawling or like it was a tiny like restricted entrance that you had to like squeeze through, and that immediately I was like, oh my god, what am I doing? But most of the place was actually that big metal path like this, but there was a couple places where you did have to squeeze through and they were really restricted, and it did kind of freak me out. So lesson learned, we do not like that, but it was still such an amazing experience because it looked amazing in there. I couldn't even get enough footage because my camera doesn't do well in dark lighting, but it genuinely was 10 out of 10. It was so cool. Highly recommend. But one thing I will say is fine hair girlies. Okay, when I came out of here, the level of embarrassment I had because my head was so soaked with condensation that it looked like I took a shower, and my bald ass was struggling. So if I go again, I would braid my hair because I looked ridiculous. But anyway, it was worth it. It was so cool. The next place we went was this eco center. I wanted to come see these really pretty cylindrical aquariums that they had. It was very pretty, and in general the place seemed to be very like well maintained and nice, so I would rather support this place than go to an actual like aquarium. It was really empty. I'm guessing it's not only because it's off season for like beach activities, but also just because this area is not really well known. This was my favorite part though, okay? When I saw otters on the reviews, I knew I had to go to this place no matter what, because they are so cute, and I don't think I've ever seen them in person before. We stayed there and watched the otters for so long because it was so empty.
Oh my god, he's so cute!
The East Coast beaches in Korea are known for being really gorgeous, and this place was absolutely no exception. I've been to Gangneung and Sokcho, which are more kind of popular cities to visit on the East Coast. The reason we like to go in off seasons is because I hate crowded places. I hate when things are super busy, and I also don't like the heat, so this was the perfect time. I really don't know why people want to go in the busy season. It just has never made sense to me at all. I also feel the same about people's obsession with going to Seoul or only traveling to very like famous popular destinations. I feel like there's so much more value in finding hidden gems and like being able to actually enjoy the place that you're in without having to stand in crowded places and be on a beach packed with other people. I just have never seen the appeal. We really enjoyed this pension, both the location and the actual building, the owners, everything was just so nice. This pension actually has a bathtub, like a wooden bath in the kind of apartment or room, and then there's a personal pool in front, so if you do go during the season that the pool is open, you can have your own place to swim. It's like fenced in. You have a little like lounging kind of a yard, or I guess a deck, and the owners are super kind. They actually will bring you homemade food in the morning. It was Korean rice porridge. It was like just veggies and some seaweed, and it was genuinely really good. The lady brought it to our door. It was so sweet. They said goodbye to us because I think we were one of the only people staying there. There might have been one other group of people. Yeah, I really liked this place. Now, this barbecue place, I'm not lying when I say it is probably my second favorite barbecue place I have ever been to in Korea. The first is Uya Uya in Ilsan, which cannot be topped in my opinion, but this place was a very solid second because all of the banchan, which is side dishes, all of them were so delicious except for the keranjim. That was not my fave. One thing I also really liked about this place is that they didn't have that horrible like hospital lighting that so many Korean restaurants have. I don't know why they do that. It does not have any ambiance. I hate it. Anyway, this place did not have that. It had more of like a spotlight lighting, which was so much nicer. So I was determined to come out and see the sunrise. Even though I knew it was going to be like cloudy, it's still so gorgeous when it finally comes over the cloud wall. I just came out by myself on this day because Q was obviously tired. Like he did have to work and he was doing all the driving. So he just slept in and waited for his homemade breakfast. But I came out and had a nice little peaceful morning on the beach with myself. After the sun did rise though, I heard this huge sound and I turned around and there was a construction group setting up on the beach, and I was like, wow, my peaceful morning, how lovely on the beach. And then this like giant crane or what are those called, the scooper things, it like started driving onto the beach and it's like making this crazy sound. I was like, we're gonna just like live in my delusion that this is a peaceful, gorgeous morning still. Now, Skyrail might sound familiar to some people, especially who are like in Korea or travel to Korea, because there is a famous Skyrail in Busan, which is way down south. It's on the south coast of Korea. But I've never been there, and Busan is on my list, but this was more convenient. So when I saw that they had a Skyrail, I was like, I obviously want to try it. But let me tell you, this was also mildly terrifying. I don't know if I'm just a scaredy cat or what, but like, this was so scary. The little carts kind of, I don't know, they like jolt around, and it felt like I was gonna fall into the ocean, and I was thinking of every possible thing that could go wrong, but it didn't. It was honestly just a really nice ride. I was just freaking myself out. I do think that if you did choose to go here in summer or any warmer temperature weather, this cart would be so boiling hot, absolutely boiling. There's no AC. There's like fans, okay? You will be hot if you go in hot weather, but for us, it was perfect. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was actually crazy because the track kept going up the coast. Where we turned around, there's like a little station, and this ajashi sitting in this control room, and he manually has to change the track and turn the cart around. But the track kept going even further, so I think you can actually just ride it like one way. When I was looking for attractions and stuff to do, this is one of the places that kept coming up over and over and over again. So obviously I was gonna come try this bread. When we got there, it actually says that there is crab meat in the batter. It was pretty yummy. You couldn't really taste the crab, but it did have this slight little sweetness. So this National Science Museum place was actually like a couple buildings away from the lab he was working at. So I was like, let's go here because they have an underwater observatory. It was honestly not as cool as I expected because I don't know what material it is, but the windows the windows under the ocean are just too foggy to see anything, which I understand. It was still a really cool experience. It wasn't too busy, but this was one of the busier places that we visited. When Q went to do his work for a few hours, I went into the museum, and they had this exhibit that was actually about what the Earth will possibly look like in the future, how the plates will shift apart, and what kind of creatures and environments it'll turn into. So it was actually really cool, and it was all free. So I really wanted to go to the mountains, and this place had a gorgeous stream and a waterfall at the end. So I was like, yes, please. Now, I don't know if I'd really consider this a hike. Like, I guess it's kind of a hike. You walk on a trail, that's kind of a hike, but it's not a big incline. You're not really going up that much. The most difficult part was a couple of the footholds were actually like just on rock, so you know, there's a chance to slip and that kind of stuff. But like, we saw a bunch of old people on the trail. They were taking it totally fine. It was not that tiring. It also wasn't that long. I think it was like 1.4 kilometers to get to the actual like waterfall, and then the trail does continue if you actually want to hike. But to get to the waterfall was a really easy walk. It was really peaceful. The weather was gorgeous. Not too many people. Our next pension was a lot further south on the coast, and I don't think it was technically considered Uljin at all, but of course I'm gonna include it. When we got there, we went to the pension, dropped stuff off, and then we immediately went looking for food at this little food district area. We ended up just getting chicken because we're not that into crab, we're not into seafood, and that's like all we had in the area. We had a really chill night after we were exhausted. On the final day, we actually didn't have anything super crazy planned because Q had to work a little longer. He had to work, I think, like 4-ish plus hours, and then we had to drive home, which was another however long. I ended up just doing stuff on my own. We were in this tiny little town called YeongYang. I love small town Korean places, okay? The architecture is way more interesting than these giant prison cell looking apartments. Every little alley I looked down had some kind of cool, quirky building. I just went to their Daiso and spent money, of course. I was feeding the street cats dried fish. Me and Q met up to have a quick lunch, and then I started to go walk around. They had a couple attractions actually that I was interested in, so I ended up just walking there because I don't even think there was any buses. Like I just walked. It was a lot of kilometers, but I had nothing but time to kill, so I thought, why not? I wanted to come to this little pavilion building because the architecture is really, really unique, actually. I think from what I read, this was a merchant's house, or it was built for, I don't know. But the brick is really unique because usually the brick is not combined with traditional Korean architecture, so that's why it gives it a really cool look. It was really hard to get to because I literally had to walk on the side of the highway for a couple of minutes. So that was spooky, but it was interesting. I was really just enjoying myself walking around, and I tried to go to this 5-story stone pagoda place, but they were under construction. The construction guys noticed me peeking over the side and they were like, "Hello, you can come in." And I was like, no thank you. But I'm kind of bummed because actually the buildings had gorgeous paintings on them, but it's fine. I couldn't see it. I moved on. I was actually just waiting for Q on a little bench under the bridge by that kind of reservoir thing. And then we ended up driving home. So that was our Uljin trip. Highly, highly, highly recommend taking a trip to this area. It's so underrated and we loved it so much. Thanks for watching. Bye.